Once upon a time, Chef Griffin was looking for mushrooms to serve in his restaurant. Look, there's one. But wait, that's poisonous. How can you tell? Well,
Armillaria is a genus of mushroom with many different species. Some of these species are edible, but some of them are not. So it's very important that Chef Griffin know the difference. How did I know that this particular species was poisonous? I used the 4 different species concepts: ecological, morphological, phylogenetic, and biological. The ecological species concept analyzes geographic location of 2 populations to determine if they are the same species. A population is a different species and meets the ecological species concept when it prefers a different geographic location or habitat. As you can see, the poisonous version, called A. mellia, lives on hardwoods in the southeast, whereas the non-poisonous version, called A. austeae, is only found on conifers and spruces in the north. According to the ecological species concept, since these 2 populations live in vastly different climates, they are not the same species. Morphological species concept analyzes the way that organisms look. They meet morphological species concept and are considered different if they are characteristically distinguishable. Armillaria can be dried and analyzed for the way that they look to tell which species it is. The poisonous species, A. mellia, is smooth and has a lighter cap, whereas A. austeae is hairy and has a darker brown cap. They meet morphological species concept and are considered different species. Phylogenetic species concept determines whether organisms are the same species by comparing their genetic material. They meet phylogenetic species concept and are considered a different species if their DNA is not similar enough. In DNA reassociation experiments, A. mellia was determined to be most similar to A. tabascens, whereas A. austeae was determined to be most similar to A. gemina. Therefore, according to phylogenetic species concept, these 2 mushrooms are a different species.
Taking the mushroom here, bringing to you the final and best concept for identifying Armillaria, the biological species concept. This species concept analyzes the ability of 2 populations to produce viable and fertile offspring. Populations are distinct species and meet the biological species concept if they are reproductively isolated from one another. An example of this is if different gamete species are crossed, they remain white and fluffy. However, viable and fertilized spores turn from white and fluffy to brown and flat if they are the same species. If you try to cross my spores with a non-poisonous species, they would not take. Therefore, you know, once and for all, that I am toxic and should be avoided.
Who wants mushrooms?